Welcome to day 19 of the 90-day volunteer recruiting challenge, where I'm attempting to recruit 90 volunteers over the course of the next 90 days. My name is Kenny Connolly. I'm a Next Gen pastor at the Ridge Community Church in Blue Ridge, Georgia. And let's talk about volunteers, specifically teenage volunteers. Yesterday I talked about some teenagers that I had just recently had conversations with, and how I'm trying to actively recruit more teenagers to serve in my ministry. And I want to talk a little bit about volunteers of the teenage nature, because I've actually had some questions, people asking, do you count teenagers in your volunteer numbers? And I know lots of people have different beliefs and expectations around teenagers, and I thought I'd just tell you mine, because even in this recruiting challenge where I'm attempting to recruit 50 more volunteers, many of those volunteers will be teenagers. I love teenage volunteers. And I probably have a soft spot for teenagers, because it was when I was a teenager that my children's pastor empowered me to begin to do ministry. When I was younger, he had recruited me to serve in a preschool environment, and then even when I got into preteen and middle school ministry, he invited me to serve in elementary environments. And it was as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old that I sensed a calling on my heart to vocational ministry. And specifically as a teenager, God called me into children's ministry and next generation ministry. So I have a soft spot because I know that God does call children. And so why would I not create spaces where children, where teenagers can serve in the ministry? So yes, I do count teenagers as my volunteers. They are included in my numbers. I would say what I found over the years, that a healthy, thriving children's ministry, now this is specifically children's ministry, a healthy, thriving children's ministry should have anywhere from 40 to 50, maybe even as high as 60% of your volunteers could be teenagers. It's easy for teenagers to serve in your children's ministry, although you can plug teenagers into guest services, into worship, into other forms of ministry, but it just seems to be a very natural, easy fit to plug them into your children's ministry. And because this challenge specifically for me is for recruiting 50 volunteers in my children's ministry, so I'm recruiting lots of teenagers. When I started this challenge, we were closer to about 22% of my volunteer team were teenagers. My goal is to get them to at least 40%, maybe as high as 50%. Here's the things you want to you just want to consider for yourself, though. For me, it's important for me to have 2 adults in every classroom environment, or 2 adults in any place, just for safety, for protection. But I can have as many teenage volunteers in that space as possible. So if I'm looking to have 3 or 4 volunteers in a ministry environment, then as long as I get my 2 adults, I could have 1 teenager, or 2 teenagers, or even 3 teenagers. Don't shy away from them. One of the reasons why I love teenagers is because they bring lots of energy, they bring excitement, they're willing to do the crazy things that us as older adults oftentimes won't do. And so utilize them. And kids, they love teenagers. They look up to teenagers. And so if you empower teenagers to serve, your kids are gonna love it, the teenagers are gonna love it. It is a recipe for a healthy ministry. Get your teenagers plugged in, make them a strategic ask, and just raise the bar, set high expectations, create great opportunities to invite teenagers to do big things, and you'll find this to be true, that some of your best volunteers will be your teenage volunteers. So tell me about you. Who are your best teenage volunteers? What do they look like, and what are some of the things that they've done?